shake it up and pop that cork. We got Teresa Duncan on the podcast today, and we were starting off pretty fast. So good to have you here.
It's a pleasure to be on here. You guys are like podcast pioneer icons. That's great. I'm pretty honored to get on here.
Thank you. We're honored to have you. So you were brought to us through Erica, and Erica is the Energizer Bunny, and she gets everybody that has something good to say. And she said that we'd love to talk to you. So there was a question you were about to ask when I corked it, because you said you were talking about helping people that have like obscure and nebulous goals, as you were saying. So
yeah,
I want to go right back to that.
So Erica is awesome. Let me just say that. So hi, Erica. And I was asking you because we were talking about the different goals that practices come to your summit with. You know, doctors are like, hey, I just want to make $1 million. And like, come on, it's got to be better than that. But it spurred a question. It spurred not better than $1 million, but you know, like there's got to be different goals.
More compelling, I think. Money is a good goal, but it shouldn't be the only goal. But I was saying to you, like, hey, at least that clarity would make me happy. Some people are like, I want to increase my profit from blank to blank. And I'm realizing that they actually don't make what they think because they don't pay themselves and they don't actually have a business. So I think even a clarity of a goal like $1 million a year is better than what we usually see. So sorry, go on.
No, it's fine. So I was talking to somebody who's ready to sell his chain of practices. And he said to me, did you know that if you have a legacy software that's a Dentrix and EagleSoft and it's, you know, server-based and it's not cloud-based, it actually is better for your valuation. If you have a cloud-based software, it actually is not good for your valuation because it actually like a basis, like taking a point off, a multiple. And I thought,
you mean
a whole turn?
I'm sorry?
A turn, like a multiple, like instead of a 9 multiple, an 8 multiple.
Yes, exactly.
Ooh, that's costly.
And I thought that's what I thought. I thought that's a little bit
Who was this person that told you this?
I don't want to say his name in case it's wrong.
No, I think I'm calling a little bit of BS on that.
Yeah, he was being told by his broker, by somebody he's working with.
Yeah,
and I thought,
that's not true.
Cloud software, like that would be so much easier to calibrate across practices. So I'm not quite sure where that's coming from.
I call BS on that one because listen, let's just say that you're being acquired by a DSO who has cloud. Imagine how much easier it is for them. So we know Peter and I know DSOs that have, 150 locations, and actually in different geographies, they use different softwares in each one. So software can be managed and merged. And I think it just depends on who the buyer is. It could actually be a plus for you or a negative. But if you're compelling enough to be bought, I don't think they'd give you any less or a discount. There's bigger discounts for things like, if you're closing location or if you're expanding or one of your key people got injured, things like that. But I mean, software it has a mitigation strategy. It can be fixed.
It did sound just a little bit off. And so I put out my feelers. I put out feelers to different software companies and a broker or two, and they came back with the same thing. So I think I'm ready to put a pin in all that and like it's done.
That one.
Yeah, right. Like that's done. I'm not gonna bring that up anymore. And if anybody brings it up, I'll say, I don't know. I checked with a bunch of experts.
Well, you have to really check with experts then. You can't just say you spoke to us.
No. I mean, I did. I talked to transition people and the software. Oh gosh, the 2 software companies that are cloud-based were like, we have studies and we have this and we'll send them to you. And I was like, no, I don't want the studies. I just want to know, is this right or wrong?
Yeah.
I can confirm, Teresa, in all my talkings with people, I've never heard that. So I'm not saying it's not true, but I can say without that I have never heard that. So
right, but it's just like it's a very unique fit. There could be a DSO out there that's acquiring practices that has a big problem with cloud-based, and they don't find. I mean, we have Dentrix in our practice now. I think Dentrix is made for like X amount of plugins per office. We have 3 times the amount that's allowed to be used for Dentrix. So we have an untenable situation with Dentrix in our environment. It's just too big and not stable. So we have to make a switch. I've been pushing it off as long as possible, but now our database is like 5 terabytes and we have to do it. So we'll be moving to cloud-based personally.
Well, I'll watch and see where you go to, because it's definitely where it's going. And I love it. I mean, I really do, especially monitoring offices, just being able to log in, seeing what they're doing is great.
Well,
and then
the open source ones are even cooler because then you can just fix things with certain different types of plugins that you could build.
Well, and it's really nice if you're looking to outsource or have somebody work from home securely. Let me just say that, work from home securely. there's now these AI, these bots that are being built by these companies that can go in and post payments for you and everything.
Oh
It's
yeah, they do a
so
lot more than that.
super cool. Well, that
But
too.
Teresa, we were on our last podcast, Peter and I, and Peter's like a tech. He's just a tech. He's a big tech, a nerd, I should call you, in a loving way. Peter, you're a tech nerd. He brings a lot of interesting things way ahead of the curve to me. And we were live on a podcast, and he was talking about this thing called Chat GPT 3, right?
Oh.
Chat GPT. And just live, he's like, hey, to the bot, write us a press release for our upcoming 2023 summit at the Wynn in Las Vegas, August 11th, because we're actually, tickets are going live for that event. And they're going to sell out. And the bot wrote so fast, it would have made me feel a lot more comfortable. You ever seen those videos of the Boston Dynamics robots that are dancing better than humans can dance? That doesn't make me feel comfortable, because I realize they're better than us. Right. Chat GPT is faster than any person I've ever seen. And it wrote an amazing press release that we would actually use. And then just for fun, we wrote to the bot, write it as if a 12-year-old wrote it. And it just came all down. It was amazing with exclamation points. Peter, that changed my life seeing that.
I told you you'd have to pick up your pieces of your brain after I showed you all that.
Doesn't make me feel good. I'd rather if it slowed down. Yeah. Because it's so fast and so much better than any human I know that it's unnerving.
I'll tell you offline what I've been doing with it today, because I'm not ready to kind of talk about it publicly, but it's insanity.
It's insanity. And it doesn't make me feel good necessarily, actually.
Why?
Because
I understand.
They're better than we are. We are not doing well as a species of human beings. We're starting ridiculous wars. We're involved in a lot of nefarious dealings, and we're divisive and we're violent. As Naval Ravikant says, you're just an ape with a plan. And I feel that human beings, I'm not overly optimistic about our species. And then I see this bot that speaks better than we do. It's like, damn.
Well,
it's like
maybe you can use it for transcripts that the White House uses. Like, that could put out a really good transcript.
Hey, it would be better than the ones we're getting right now.
That's what I'm thinking. So
everything that is said has to be redacted. So I'm sure GPT would be a better head of state than what we have already. I'll vote for a bot.
It's pretty cool, the GPT thing. My second podcast co-host Kevin Henry, put in his storyline into Chat GPT, put in, what's an insurance coordinator, talking about an insurance coordinator, a boss that doesn't support her, and then all this stuff, or other criteria. And he printed out it spit out this story of an insurance coordinator that is so stressed out, her mental health is in trouble, and she's being haunted by the ghost of dental billing practices and fraud. And I was like, what?
Imagine if you're like a kid in English class right now and you have to write a term paper on the Iliad, Homer's Iliad. Like, hey, Chat GPT, write it as an 11-year-old. It'll come up different every time. Like, is English going to go away? We had Cliff Notes, thank God.
Right.
But
we could write the next Harry Potter. Honestly, we could put in dragon with, a limp that can spit fire, just that a little bit.
Be a frustrated dentist.
Yeah.
And it'll be the #1 best-selling. By the way, Teresa, if I see the dragon dentist and it goes on Amazon, this has been recorded. Teresa Duncan's tale, the fiery dental dragon. I'm watching.
But just a little bitty fire, just a little fire, enough to fire that porcelain up. Right?
Exactly. He puts them all. He puts your Emacs in. Okay, we're getting too far. I'm sorry.
See,
Peter,
we're
please
nerding
bring
out.
us to something here. Bring some content, Peter. Can't just be all laugh here.
What do you mean? We can't just sit around and talk about AI and dragons?
Oh, that is what we were talking about before, the AI. So can I bring it back to?
Yes, please.
Bring it back to dental
for the listener.
So 2 different companies that I have been really taking a good interest in have been, they have the logins through Dentrix, right? Like you create a login and they go in and they do their thing. It's not me posting payments. It's, Lassie is the company I demoed. I was stunned how fast he posted whole day's worth of payments. I'm I want to say 5 minutes. And all I have to do is just check. And it was amazing. I was like, can I invest?
I know.
like
It's
today,
all
can I
open.
write
It's
you a
all
check
open.
today?
Yeah,
It's
like it's
crazy.
crazy.
Like that's what I want. I mean, the problem I have with insurance teaching it is it's really hard to pick up if you don't know anything about dentistry, period. And so the payments piece takes all day. I can't teach them insurance if all they're doing is just making sure that their checks just get entered in. So I'm very excited about where things are going. But yeah, I don't know if I want to, I don't know if I want them replacing me, but it's going to happen eventually. So, right.
Wild, isn't it? Super
Yeah.
wild.
Yep, it is.
That's a crazy time to be alive. We're witnessing this stuff right now.
Peter looks like he's thinking.
Well, I'm thinking about like, look, no one's going to be immune to a somewhat of a disruption. It's going to be those people who find out how to optimize it, who are going to benefit. The ones who just stay static and are like, oh no, and play the victim are honestly going to get replaced. But even dentists are not immune. I don't feel even doctors, lawyers, like no, like there's so many
Yeah, that's
people
what we
who
talked about last time, Peter.
that tech is going to displace a little bit, but it's not going to make them. It's not going to make us obsolete. Right? It's just going to make those who utilize the tech better, faster, easier.
Help me out with something, Peter. Were we recording, or was that a side conversation where you were asking me like the top 3 things that a dentist does? Was that recorded? Remember, like distill down the actual work. Okay, good. Yeah. So, I mean, Peter was actually just like,
that was on that same pod.
Yeah. So GPT is a more empathetic doctor than most of us as doctors. So Peter like put in there like, hey, how do you, dentistry is so scary. Like, how can I, how can we be assured, I'm going to be taken care of? And this empathetic bot was like, hey, we recognize it's a scary thing, but we're happy you're investing in your oral care. And we'll use all the proper numbing agents and walk you through each step. I'm like, damn, let me hire that bot.
That's better than
most of dentists will be like, come on, just deal with it. Well, you're the one who neglected yourself, making you feel bad and shaming you. We suck.
Wow. Yeah, no, they need to teach that because coming out of school, the new dentists don't have that. They don't have that yet. So,
and the problem is you could be a wonderful clinician, have hands of like GV Black, the most amazing clinical skill. But if you lack that ability to connect with people and be empathetic, you're not going to be a successful dentist. So Peter asked a very intuitive question, and I don't want to relive that whole podcast. You can go check it out. But it was basically like distill down what the unique attributes of a successful dentist are. And it was alarming and funny, humorous to see that a lot of it could be disrupted right now. Like just wheel the guy in at that point.
So it's not even like the picking up the drill or anything like that.
No, but picking up the drill at this point still needs that. But if this bot was able to manage my consult and talk to my patient and then wheel a guy in that just like nods, basically pull like a Stephen Hawking, like put the voice machine, like today we'll be working on you, and then just shut up and do the whole thing.
Oh my Lord.
I mean, like get the voice machine.
Well, I'm just thinking, gosh, I presented so much treatment plans and financial plans. Like, if I were a bot, like, would the patients argue with me as much? Like, would they negotiate with me as much?
Well, no, just the bot will exhaust you. Tell me more how you feel.
That's amazing. Like, that's great.
Sorry.
Like,
yeah, that's great.
There are certain patients that I will absolutely roll that bot in for. Are you kidding me?
God.
Like, I can think of 3 right now that I just hated going in there.
You can just walk into the patient. Did you want a lot of detail, or do you have a time constraint? No, I actually really want to get to know you better. No problem. Wheel in the iTero and like have that thing talk to the patient.
Like you walk into the room and you like flip down your visor because you're going into battle. That's the kind of patient I need this for. This is great.
All right. So we covered AI last podcast. So let's go to something new and exciting. Talk to us.
I've got a question.
Yeah, please.
All right. So Teresa, you're obviously the insurance guru in the industry. Huge following. People come to you for the answers in this. What would you say would be we have a lot of people in our mastermind who are in network, possibly considering going out of network with some providers. Can you say like what are the 3 stats you need to look at before determining if you're ready to go out of network?
Yeah, so production by carrier, obviously, net production by carrier. I also want you to look at the adjustments by carrier, and then I want you to look at referrals by carrier. So referrals by carrier and the adjustments by carrier are usually never paid attention to. Production by carrier, yeah, you can look at that and it's fun. And you kind of look at it and you're like, oh, well, at least I made. Usually production by carrier is used as a rationale to stay in network. Like, oh, well, it's not that bad. Look at that. It's a good amount. It's more than I thought. Blah, blah, blah. So here, I don't mean to be so dismissive. I shouldn't be like that. So then the adjustment by carrier. So this is different. This is not the difference between the full fee and the PPO fee. This is the adjustments over and above your difference in fee schedule. So these are the appeals that you've lost that you're writing off. These are the disallows that you're writing off. These are the patient arguments that you've had and you're like, oh, screw it, I don't want to deal with it, and you write it off. If it's so you have to have a MetLife adjustment, a Cigna adjustment. You have to have one for each carrier. But if you don't have that starting off, then it's hard to measure that. So starting in January, if anybody has not heard of this or thought to do this, set that up so that you have adjustments for each carrier. Same thing with referrals. So if your carrier is sending you a lot of patients, that's something you need to factor in when you're looking at getting out. So, but a lot of times we don't track that. We just have insurance as a referral, but we need to, for everyone that you're in network with, put that in there. And then at the end of the year, when you run your insurance or when you run your referral report, this is where we have real come to Jesus talks with doctors, because this is hard for me to tell doctors, but they need to hear it. So we'll run the referral report, and the top 10, sometimes even top 20 is nothing but insurance referrals. There's no patients, maybe one or two patients, maybe the mom or dad is on there, the neighbor, nothing that says this patient, this office is sustaining itself, it's growing organically, nothing like that. It's all nothing but insurance referrals. So if I'm looking at your top 10 and at least half are patients, I know that you're in a good place. It means that you remember that marketing is still a thing. So
Yeah, and by the way, insurance is marketing.
yes,
It's just a
absolutely.
different form of marketing. So if you want to turn off all marketing engines, but you want to leave the insurance on, then that will work for some people. And I think we make a lot of presumptions to get to the point that we're talking in this decision tree. Some dentists have this vision to scale and grow, 50 practices, and others are just, single providers and only have two hands. You can only, booked up 6 months in advance and you're not making money. That's a different scenario for both of those providers. So I think it's a very individual question, but I love where you're going. So please keep going with the marketing, as insurance is marketing.
Well, and let's take it even a step further to say that this is contract law, and let's look at it from a contract point of view. So when you sign on to an insurance carrier, there's that consideration, right? You give up something, they give up something. So you give up your fees, they give up that they promise to send you new patients. So if you are in network and you're giving up these ridiculous fees, right? They're not sending you any new patients, and you only know that because you're running this report the way we just talked about. If they're not sending you any new patients, you have like maybe 5 or 10 patients from Duncan carrier. So let's just say that I'm not sending you anybody. So you're thinking, well, so this is you go two ways. One, I would want you to get out of the network, because I'll get into that in a second. But number two, a lot of people will say, well, it's just, a couple patients, and I'm not going to go through the process of getting out of network. So it's not a big deal. But the problem is it's a liability. So it's an open liability. If you have this connection out there and all of a sudden Duncan insurance carrier wakes up and says, hey, I'm going to lease out my whole network. I didn't do that before, but now I can because somebody approached me. This little tiny insurance company you never worried about now all of a sudden is leasing you out to everybody you just tried to get out of network with.
Exactly.
So it's a liability, and I want to get rid of that. So, but back to the contract thing, if you look at that and they're not sending you new patients, you're the only one who's delivering on this contract. And so that should really put it into perspective for you.
Well, you're reminding me of a book, the book Who Moved My Cheese. I'm sure we've all read that one, but a great book. Like, in business, we do the same thing. We go to the same spot, expecting the same result. And it's a precarious position. It's a liability, as you speak to, because if the carrier decides to do something and 80% of your practice, I've heard so many people tell me like the story, like I had this business and it was great because we serviced the IBM factory that was right there, and then IBM closed and we were out of business. So it's our job as business owners to just look at, SWOTs, strength,
Yes.
weakness, opportunities, and now look at competitive analysis. And if you
Yes.
have exposure like that, even if you choose not to do anything about it, at least know that you're going to do that.
Well, and so in my workshops, what I teach is that you have to keep an eye on what's going on in your neighborhood, even if
Yep.
it's going to the Chamber of Commerce meetings, being involved in the county, or at least just reading the news, and seeing what's going on in the area. But
Yeah.
once a
Because your area
year,
could be going up or down.
Absolutely. And once a year, I go to the county website, go to the city website, because they all have stats. They're all trying to attract new businesses. You'll see the new businesses coming in. You'll see you're not going to see the businesses that are getting out, but hopefully you're looking at the news and you're listening to your patients. But like Pepsi just laid off, I think it was Pepsi just laid off a whole bunch of people. And those areas, there's a whole little cities built up around these factories. I mean,
Well,
you
look
all
at
know
what
this.
happened with
So,
the car industry. Look at
of
how
course.
the wealthiest areas were Detroit and the whole, like, automotive belt, like, the people that built the stereos in Ohio, and the automotive industry took a tank. The
Mhm.
entire communities and cities were destroyed.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it is incumbent upon you to be aware of it, and I know people are busy and they don't wanna think about stuff like that, but you need to. If you're gonna be a business owner, this is important.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's tough if you don't want to and you're a business owner, then you need to think about having somebody else do that for you, but you can't just ignore it. I mean, I feel bad. I have some offices that I talk to a lot in Chicago, and they have like a double punch going on. So they've
Yeah.
got some big companies moving out, but they also got hit with COVID, as did most of the metro cities. I mean, as you know, being where you all are, what happened, I definitely saw this in New York City, definitely seeing this in Chicago. All these doctors who had built their practices around people who work every day that could
Yeah.
just go downstairs and get their dental work done, it just dried up, disappeared. And so who's
It's a
coming now?
liability, in fact, if you're in, like, this professional building in downtown
Mhm.
New York or Chicago, and you were just like, "I don't need to advertise, I don't need to do anything because this building is 46 floors, and I'm
Right,
the only dentist." Like, they have
right.
to walk by me every day, and all of a sudden, like, from 1 month to the next, that occupancy of that building went down by 80%. It's a ghost town.
Right.
Now it's a negative because now you're
Yeah.
inside this building, you can't even see people.
Well, and
So at
who's
least you have
gonna
those.
buy this? Who's gonna buy it from you? You know?
Right, right.
So,
Yeah, I was in New York City for a meeting last week, and it was like a ghost town. I mean, in this particular office building, I saw these
mhm,
beautiful offices all with curved monitors and great furniture that was electronic that lifts up and down for standing and sitting desks, and it was just all empty. It was so weird. I know
yeah,
it's rebounding, but, you have to choose your state too because certain states have different lockdown policies. I mean, I was fortunate in Florida, we seem to have gotten it right because everything was back to normal. Like, really
yeah.
quickly, really quickly. I mean, summer of 2020, it was business as usual here.
It's
And
amazing.
we have friends in the mastermind that were in California that were, like, really that it was really hard in small business.
Yeah. Well, during the lockdown was interesting. So I don't do very much in-office consulting anymore, but I do strategy calls. So what I was getting was a lot of strategy calls because finally doctors were looking at the numbers and they wanted to know, okay, well, should I get off of PPOs? So tying it back to the topic. So should I get off of PPOs? Now I'm looking at these numbers. I can do the work and all this. Now I'm getting the same calls, the same people calling because they went out of network and for whatever reason, many of them I said, don't even do it. You're not ready. They did it. And now they're looking at going back in network because the practice is suffering a lot.
Well,
And
that's the beautiful thing about insurance, though. There's no fatal mistake. You can go back in and out. I've done it several times. I did it, like,
Mhm,
without much regard to a process because I was young and didn't realize what I was doing, or inexperienced, I should say.
yeah.
But there is an art form to doing it, and selective enrollment and stuff like that. And even having certain doctors, if you're multi-doctor, having some on it and some off. And there's ways to kind of hybridize the PPO model.
Yes, it's true. And what I was worried about with these doctors is if they left, they already had good fee schedules because they had negotiated, early on. When they left and want to come back in, they're not getting those old fee schedules. That's
Mhm.
what
Yeah,
hurts. That's what
yeah,
They
really
start back at
hurts.
zero, huh?
Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
Well, or ground floor. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean,
Geez.
their costs went up obviously, and, "What do you mean they cut reimbursement?" "Oh, no."
Well, the
Yeah.
thing is too, Teresa, look, we just came off of a cycle of a lot of pent-up demand.
Mhm.
So one thing is when the market goes well, everybody thinks they're a genius. So for those who have dabbled in real estate or had a dental practice in a good area, you feel like you're like the Elon Musk of dentistry. You're like, oh my God, I'm so good. I should open up 4 more offices. But now a cycle cools or goes through a recession, and now everybody faces the music. So
Yeah.
what this exposes, when good times cover up a lot of sloppy business people, I'm included in that. I'm not pointing my finger. I've thought at certain times I was God's gift to dental business ownership, and I got my butt kicked many times through different cycles. So what would you say to those people now? What's your crystal ball saying about dentistry 2023, 2024? Because you have to have some level of opinion on that to advise people. So take me through your thought process, 2023, 2024. What happens to dentistry?
So just to give background on why I think the way I do work with the ADA on projects, but I also work with the carriers on projects. So, I have a chapter in the Coding Companion, so I'm very in there with the ADA. I talk to them a lot often. The carriers, I'm on many different committees, and so I get the two back and forth. And both of them know that I try to stay Switzerland, because that's the only way I can do this communication and, give it back to the industry. And they're all good with it, actually. So I don't know if dentistry is in a really good place for the next 2 years compared to the carriers. I just don't. There's actually been a net gain in PPO, joint dentists being PPO providers. You'll go on Facebook and you'll see, and this is why Facebook groups kind of drive me crazy. You'll see them all
Me
go,
too. Me too.
everybody has gotten out of network and you can do it too. And we got out and it's the best thing
Right.
ever.
And
Well,
by the
yeah,
way, we fired our hygienist. We're doing our own cleanings. It's the best move I ever did.
yeah,
These
right.
prima donnas won all this money. Oh, so good. Yeah, me too. Holy hell. I'm like, oh
Well,
my God,
you
dumpster
know,
fire.
so that's why I was getting all these calls like, okay, well, walk me through the process. Well, okay, let's talk about this. And then you get down to the nitty gritty, and they're not in any way, shape, or form ready to go out of network. But because everybody else is doing it, it's like this lemmings off a cliff thing, right? So, but the real lemming action is that more doctors are going in network than ever before.
So that's
And
the truth.
that's the
The
truth.
truth is net enrollment of participating providers is up.
Well, and if you look at it, it makes sense. So some of you are like, "Oh, she's wrong. That's not what I read on Facebook." No. So here's what I want you to think about. All of the group practices and DSOs,
Yeah.
every one of those are they're participating. All of them are
Yeah.
participating. And in
100%.
fact,
Teresa,
one
you're
thing
bringing up I just want to cut you for one
yeah, yeah,
second.
yeah.
I want to add another axis to this conversation. So net dollars being spent in dentistry going significantly higher. So more dollars going into dentistry.
Mhm.
Dentist salary going down. Keep going. Another
It's
axis to talk about. I want you to
yes.
throw those variables into this dialogue that you're talking about.
Sure, sure. So you have more dentists joining into groups. They're all getting credentialed. Not only that, they're all getting credentialed. So if you have one location and I'm sorry, if they're at one office, but you have 10 locations, that doctor is getting credentialed at all 10 locations,
Yep.
just in case he or she can go work that day. What ends up happening then is that you go out of network, or maybe you go to a different office and you try to get credentialed at this where you're actually going to be. Your fee schedule now could be constricted because you accepted a lower one over here, or there's the what is that called, restricted covenant? What is that when you have the radius that you can't?
Yeah. You
Is
said
that
it
it?
right.
Restricted
Yeah.
covenant.
You
Yeah.
said it right.
Okay, so you have that you have to contend with, and so as a result, you start signing up for plans just because you want to get going, and then you're like, oh, I'll get off of those plans later, or I'll go back to that. It doesn't happen, and then you realize that you're now caught in, it's truly a spider web, because to find out what is the origin of your participation, you've got to go back like 5 insurance companies because you've been leased out so many times. And this is a big reason why I don't do negotiations. I don't know who's contracted with who, and next month it'll be somebody different. So I was laughing. Somebody asked in a Facebook group, does anybody have a list of who participates with who and who networks to who? And I was like, yeah, I have one. It'll be out of date tomorrow. Like,
Right.
come on.
When
Like,
your
come on.
EOB is out of date, like the minute you get it back, like
Pretty
we're going to pay
much.
this amount of money. I mean, listen, insurance has got a beautiful business. They control the outcome, but they use you as a vicarious agent of the insurance company. So when someone is pissed, they're
Mhm.
pissed at you as the dentist and the treatment coordinator. So
Yeah.
yes, we'll pay you this, but it's an estimate. So
Yes.
you relay that information to our detriment to the patient, Mrs. Jones. Good news, insurance estimates they'll pay this. You get back, insurance, no, that I know that was an estimate or not. Teresa, why did you do this? I couldn't afford that. And now, so they have a brilliant model in that, you're the one that has to be their extension of their customer support.
Yeah, and that's when I go to ChatGPT and say, "Why did I do that, ChatGPT?" What do I say to
Yeah.
this patient?
But what a great model. What a great model for the insurance company.
It actually is, and if you think about it, I mean, not just dental insurance, I mean, property insurance, all of it. Insurance is a
Yeah.
great business model.
But the dental insurance is an outlier in that it's the only insurance product I'm aware of that people are excited to use. I don't want to use my insurance. I don't want to get in a car accident. I don't want to use life insurance. I don't want to use my health
Mhm,
insurance.
mhm.
Dental insurance, like people think like, oh, I would like whiter teeth.
Yeah.
Let me use my dental insurance. So
Well,
by
and
that virtue, it's not really an insurance plan. It doesn't cover catastrophic loss. I mean, if we wreck our car, you'll get a check for something that's suitable to a replacement of your car.
mhm.
If you, God forbid, fell over, tripped and broke 10 of your teeth, insurance is like 1,500. Good luck.
Right, right.
That's not insurance.
Well, and we need to start calling it something else, and I think many of us have. We've done this whole switch from calling it, insurance to calling it benefits or the allowable amounts or not allowable amounts, benefits provided by your employer. I've got a couple verbal,
Well, there's a
tricks.
disconnect there though, Teresa. We want to call it that, but the dental insurance companies don't want to call it that because if it was
No,
just a benefit plan, wait, I'm paying $500 a year for
right.
$1,500 of benefit. That doesn't sound good. I
Well, we
mean,
gotta start somewhere though. I mean, where does the conversation start? It's gotta start with us. So I'm training offices now. You don't say, "Hey, we can't do this because of your plan. We can't do this." And the fact is you can do whatever you want to. The benefits are gonna pay whatever the benefits are. So I'd rather if something comes back denied, I need to have some verbiage in place like it looks like your employer selected a plan that does not cover. It looks like your employer is not allowing for benefits to be paid on that procedure. We deal with plans all the time that
why don't you
cover
just
this.
looks like your employer doesn't really care about you. I think
Well,
that's
because I
I'm just
can't do
joking.
that.
I was joking. It's like I'm like you're saying it in a nice way.
Yeah, I had to be nice.
No,
Now I've got competition with my chat thing. I got competition
I was
now.
joking with you. I was joking. Just that was funny. How long you
So
been working there? Oh, 12 years. Your employer didn't get you benefits that really matter.
I'm so surprised. These benefits suck compared to what just came in. Like, because really you do want to say that, like, oh, it's a really crappy plan. And there's definitely some patients you can say that to. I mean, I definitely have said things like that, but you have to really know
Yeah,
that they're
I
not
see I see some of the things. I'm like, "Listen, dental insurance should pay for that,
yeah,
but they don't, and it's a
yeah,
shame, and they really should."
yeah,
But listen,
exactly.
how is this minimum, I'm gonna butcher this, the acronym.
Medical loss ratio, MLR. Yeah,
Yes, yes,
yeah.
go there for me.
So I'm not popular when I talk about this because I love that we're getting more regulatory. We're paying attention to the things, the avenues that are available to us to make changes. I love that.
Okay.
I love that the ADA united behind something. Finally, so
Well, no, listen,
I
like,
I don't want to
yeah,
ban. No,
yeah,
I work with them,
don't
but
don't don't throw shade on the ADA.
yeah, but
They've been negotiating for discounted car rental rates for me for years.
oh
So
God,
with,
you're right.
yeah, I've been able to get like, 5% off at Hertz just by being an ADA member.
Yeah, but
Oh
I'm
my
not an
God.
ADA member, so it doesn't affect me. No, I'm just
Yeah, but I'm
kidding.
just saying you could enjoy $5 off your next car rental.
They won't take my money. Did you know that?
Why is that?
They will not let you join as a team member, which is just one of the I can't tell you how many conversations I've had with this up in the ADA headquarters about this. Here's
Pete,
a
are you an
revenue
ADA member?
stream.
So I've
Cool.
been an ADA member for 23 years, and guess what this year is gonna be? My first year non-ADA. I'm flying solo, people.
Why? Why what was the final
Because
straw?
I was able to use Alamo rental car, and they're gonna give me the
Oh God.
5% off, so I don't need the rental car discount anymore. No, I mean, what honestly, I mean, with it, this will be an unpopular opinion, but I have watched the group that's supposed to protect us, as dentists, from the at home or there's been companies, and I'll remain nameless because I don't want to get a cease and desist here, but companies that have actually interfered with the sanctity of the dentist patient relationship. And I've watched those companies not only go unchecked by the ADA, but actually take sponsorship. The ADA is taking sponsorship money from such companies. And I think the profession needs a larger voice to protect itself from corporate interests that are not always in the best interest of the practitioner and the patient. And they failed. I think we've been failed. And I don't know if it means something, but I just out of principle alone, I feel like I have to make a stand. And I feel that way very strongly, and I'm sad about it because if they
Yeah.
would have asked me, you can pay double your dues, but we'll do X, Y, and Z, I'd feel better about it. And I am really proud of the ADA for the minimum via whatever that is. But
MLR, yeah.
and just so people understand, let me, Teresa, just take a 30-second. What is that exactly, so people understand?
Sure. So basically, it's the amount of the premium that's actually spent on direct patient care. So on the medical side, you're looking at usually about 85%, that's mandated to be spent on patient care. Now, so that means 15 cents of every dollar would go towards administrative, marketing, all that kind of stuff. And in dentistry, there is no requirement except for, I think, 1 or 2 states, and there's a guideline in another state. But now we have Massachusetts that was able to get it passed. What's really kind of cool about the Massachusetts situation is that they tried to get it passed through the legislature twice, and it went nowhere because of lobbying efforts. So they went directly to the ballot, that's what makes it unusual. So now it's templated out. It's going to go to all the other states. I've already read an article that, I think Connecticut and one other one, they're ready to go.
That'd be a quick domino to fall for sure.
So why are you unpopular then?
So
in this case? I want to get to that.
Yeah. And I just want to say real quick, because I do work with the ADA. I do like what they do, but I just wish they did some things differently. I just wish they weren't so glacial. And everything is very slow there. And I don't think I'm going to upset anybody by saying that. So let's just leave it at that.
Yeah, I have
a lot of comments about ADA and what they do and what they don't do. But going to the MLR. So my issue with this is that, and I do think it's great that it passed, because at least what it did is it educated the population about the behind the scenes on dentistry, that there should be some more being paid towards it. But I don't know if it was so as egregious as it was made out to be. It's not like insurance companies were paying 50 cents on the dollar. I mean, they were already up at around 83% when you look at the numbers. Yeah.
That's not what I've heard. I've not heard that.
Yeah.
The story was
about
so
83.
different.
No, so about 83.
The story was like in the 20s to me.
No. So I have
Facebook chat you were talking about, but no, we were told by Delta. Like, let me try to. I was told that Delta Dental of Massachusetts was in the 20-something cents on the dollar.
I can send you the Tufts policy paper that kind of outlines
why the urgency to mandate something if it's already there?
I am understanding that there is one particular person that really was funding it and pushing it through, and it was a cause, and good for him. He was able to get it pushed through, and he's the one who kind of led the cause. I mean, you go through 2 lobbying sessions, and you get it on the ballot, you're going to keep pushing it. So that being said, I can definitely provide you the resources. I'll send you the policy papers. But going back to other times when this has been implemented, well, there's another thing that we should think about too, is that the MLR is calculated in medical in such a way that it doesn't necessarily take into account things like marketing. Okay, so on the dental side, because it's different, it's a totally different business model. It really is.
Yeah.
So the 85%, let's just say it's 85% on the medical side, that doesn't include marketing, actually. So they're paying, they have some calculation where they can take the marketing out. And then this is way above my pay grade. This is like accountant stuff. On the dental side, they haven't gotten that sophisticated to define it because they haven't had to. And so when you calculate their DLR, I guess you could call it, it includes things like marketing and broker.
It shouldn't, though, in my opinion.
I agree, but this hasn't been put on that industry. Now in California, you've had to do reporting guidelines, and so I think they're getting better at that, and I think Utah is the same way. So let me go to the reason why I worry that it may not have the intended effect, and I hope it does have the intended effect, but what's going to happen to me is that you're going to see a lot of the smaller insurers that are going to not be able to comply with this and make a profit. And so you may see insurers leaving the market. And that happens all the time in the insurance industry. If you're not making a market, I mean, you're in Florida, you see how many,
Oh
you
my
know,
God, the
insurance.
homeowners insurance,
Yeah, you
can't
see
even
how it
get it.
is.
Everybody's out of business, like
So,
literally just for everything.
and the real thing is we have, and I'm going to get
So
geeky
is
here, so
that a
just bear
bad
with
thing?
me. Yeah, it is. Let me get geeky here for a second. Self-insured and fully insured. So, self-insured plans are the big boys, the Boeings, Walmarts, whatever. They can afford to fund their own carriers or fund their own claims. It's just that the carrier administers it. So that's self-administered. Fully funded is what the state actually can look at. Self-funded is a government thing. So the government is what is taking care of that. That's the ERISA plans. And I can slow down and re-explain this if it goes too fast, but the fully funded plans are the only ones who are going to be held to this standard because it's state. Just like a non-covered service law in your state, it doesn't apply to the self-insured plans. It only applies to fully funded plans. A lot of people don't realize that. So just because in Virginia we have a non-covered services law, well, that's great. It only applies to half the plans in the state because half the plans are fully funded, half the plans are self-funded, right? So if the fully funded plans whose target market is small employers like us, like me, I'm the perfect person for that, right? If they can't make money, who are they going to raise the premiums on? They're going to raise the premiums on me. I'm going to be like, oh, forget it.
Teresa, let me just cut you just for 1
Yeah,
second.
yeah,
I need
yeah.
to ask you a question. You're going to know the answers probably right off the top of your head. What is the average annual premium for a PPO plan? If you had to, I know you're not going to give me the exact, but a roughly what to the employee or
Annual
employer?
premium, it's roughly, I don't want to be exact on this, but
Yeah,
I've
no,
done a
roughly.
couple. I would say probably about 400,
That's what I was
400,
thinking too, like
500.
30, $40 a
Yeah.
month, right?
Yeah,
So
that I
for
would say about 40. I would go 40,
okay,
40 a
so
month.
we're gonna okay, and what is the average maximum allowable benefit?
So people are surprised it's actually about between 1,500 and 2,000.
Okay, right. So it's been the
Let's do
same
1,500,
since
yeah.
I was practicing dentistry, and I'm a dinosaur of 24 years in practice.
Right.
It's been the exact same. So that
Okay.
$1,500 over 24 years as
Yeah.
the time value of money has drastically decreased.
Yes. So
So
let
so
me
we but premiums have gone up.
yes.
So the
Yes.
delta, pardon for the pun, between what you pay and what you receive has narrowed so significantly that is it a bad thing that the dental insurance goes away? Because in the same spirit, people can do their own in-office plans. Peter and I do them.
Sure. Yes,
You know,
absolutely.
in full disclosure, we're sponsored by Clear. We love Clear. They work well for us. We're paying
Mhm.
customers of it. And for that same $28, $30 a month, I can provide my patients with all that stuff. And there's no middleman. So
So
how is that not better for
yeah,
the
so
consumer?
this is great because this back and forth. So I'm going to play devil's advocate, but
Please do. Yeah, please
people
do.
need to realize like this is not really what I'm advocating for. So I'm just going to play devil's advocate.
No,
Um,
understood. You'll
here's
be
here's
clipped and taken out of context, by the way, and they'll be like, "Look at
for
Teresa."
crying out loud. So if the big plans that are in place, like the Walmarts and the Boeings, if they're unaffected by this, and the only plans who are affected are the ones that are going to leave, the big administrators for those plans, the Deltas, the Cignas, they're not going anywhere. So when you take away the plans who can compete and potentially
Right,
chip
right,
away at market
right.
share, you get a monopoly situation again.
And so premiums rise,
So premiums will rise.
but
Yes.
my question to you is, will there be a commensurate rise for the first time ever in recorded history of
No.
at maximum allowables?
No.
Therefore, it would go away.
No, and I'll tell you
It'll go
why there
away.
won't be. I'll tell
But
you
it'll
why there won't be. There
but no need to tell us that because I know because it's been $1,500 since like 1985.
No, but that's not even it. The actuaries do these things for a reason. The issue is only like 3%, 3 to 5% of the population that have dental benefits use their maximum.
Right.
Most people don't even touch the maximum. So if you're a small
So
employer.
yeah, so but listen, Teresa, everything gets disrupted. You know,
Oh,
people had to
sure.
buy $1,000,000 medallions to drive taxi cabs in New York City.
Can you believe that? That's insane.
And Uber comes along
Yeah.
and brings the power to the people. There's power, bring the voice, we dismantle things. That's
Mhm.
why. And so where there's a rub and there's friction, because insurance was known to be efficient and a good thing, as premiums rise and there's no commensurate rise in maximum allowable, it does reach a point where people are like, oh, this is not dental insurance. Oh, this is not what I thought it was. Even I'm
Yes.
paying $900 a year for $1,500 of benefit.
Well,
It's a
but yet
discount plan.
do you see the benefit though? The benefit conversation, we have to have that somewhere along the way. And so it is our offices that have to do it. I mean, unless somebody comes up with a public service announcement campaign, that's not going to happen, you know?
Well,
Well,
we're
maybe.
doing it right now. This is the PSA for that, because I see it being a good thing, because, well, you actually said, I don't know if it's a good thing because premiums will rise. Well, listen, if dental insurance completely went away and then it was just there was free market enterprise, there will be people that will still do $600 crowns. They won't
It
be mandated to do them, but they'll do them.
But keep in mind, it's a frog in the boiling water situation, because as premiums go up, you have the way those premiums are paid, meaning your employees will actually start to share in more and more of the cost, which a lot of them do already. A lot of them pay almost all of the premium now. They just don't realize it. So there has to be an awareness of, hey, did you know that you're paying $40 a month for your, bring in your pay stub, bring in your benefits information. We'll take a look at that. That's when you can have that conversation about the membership plan, so that you're comparing apples to apples as far as price goes, right? But as when you were asking me about 2023 and 2024, going even further than that, I don't see that standalone dental is around, honestly, in about 10 years. I just don't. Depending
What
on
does standalone dental mean?
standalone dental means that's the only product that the carrier has, Delta Dental.
Oh,
They only
understood.
have
Okay,
dental.
got it.
So
Understood.
they're
Yeah.
already
So it'd be
starting to
bundled.
diversify. Delta Dental just started offering vision in some markets too. They started doing plan
I
partnerships
heard
with
of a very
vision.
large DSO solicited my friend who's a medical doctor. It's a very prominent DSO, and they said, "Hey, we're bringing medical into our locations. Can we
Mhm.
bring you in?" It
And
was
why
interesting.
not? Why wouldn't they do that?
No, it's great.
Same thing with Walmart. I mean, Walmart tried to do dental and medical, and you kind of laugh at Walmart dental, but
No, I think it would
quite
be very, if
frankly,
done right, it would be great.
I think it'd be awesome.
I think it
Yeah.
would be too.
And the other thing too about dental coverage is that it actually gets people in the door. So, we kind of like rail at them and all that. And I know I've had my issues with them, but the studies are not done by the insurance carriers. The studies are all over the place. It definitely shows people come in when they have coverage. And if they don't have coverage, they put it off. And that
What's the
works.
economic relationship? I'm sorry, this is like rapid fire, but I know we have to wrap, so this is like lightning round. What's the economic relationship that you're aware of between dental insurance companies and the ADA?
The CDT code revenue.
And do you have any idea or approximation of what you believe that to be?
No, no. In fact, it's funny because I guess I could. I mean, many ADA members have access to the numbers in the financials, so it's probably a line item. I have to pay anytime I use the codes in my presentations because I teach coding, so they get a
So
10% off
so
of
I guess
me.
my more direct question to you is, do you believe that there is an economic incentivization for the ADA to ensure that dental insurance exists? Is what
I don't think as much as it used to be. I think actually we're into a new area. I think there are
Good
issues
question,
going
Terry.
on at the ADA that I think they're seeing the bigger picture, and that we're going to get wrapped up into single payer, or we're going
right.
to be working closely with
So
Medicare.
in other words, it's not an altruistic endeavor, it's just
Yeah.
a musical stop, and they're
Yeah.
just trying to stay abreast
Yeah.
of it.
Yep. Exactly.
That just
Exactly.
bothers me, by the way, right? I know we all
That
have to work together, but
Yeah, it is. That's why I think it's good. The ADA serves a good purpose because there's no other large lobbying body for us. I mean, right now there isn't. And if there were, maybe there would be some competition and you'd see some different behavior from the ADA. But as it stands right now, that's what are they doing? They're not getting prompted for anything. And I've had this conversation with them. The transition group that they just started, they're doing
yeah,
this.
ADA practice transitions.
I mean, I get it. And I interviewed the doctor was on my podcast. She's a wonderful person. I get it. But when I talk to doctors, they're not concerned with access to care. They're not concerned with transitions, getting a deal from the ADA. They're concerned with reimbursement. They're concerned with the
Right, right,
workforce.
right. It seems like all these ancillary, like like literally, I'm on the ADA's website. I don't want this to be about the ADA, but it's like travel benefits, save on your next trip with discounts on rental cars, cruises, and hotels. What are you, Expedia? Like, hello, like we have major stuff here. It's like
Yeah.
people are drowning. Like, here's a washer. Like, that's not going to help me. I'm drowning. Like, it's
Yeah.
tone deaf. It just bothers me. And listen, this is a cry. You know, if the ADA wants to enlist people that are helpful, like, reach out to us. I'm not here to say the ADA needs to be disbanded. I'm just calling for a better ADA. That's what I'm calling for. So, I mean, let this be an open invite. Like, I'd help the ADA. I know you're helping them. Peter, I'll volunteer you. Peter's like extremely optimistic to help the ADA, but we need lobbyists. We need people to help us. But I think you're losing a lot of our fight by bundling in travel benefits at the same time. Like, I don't think anybody needs that.
It's not, I don't know. That never appeals to me for any membership organization, really. You know, just as an aside, I want to see what you guys think of this. This is interesting. I listened to a former president of the Massachusetts Dental Society. He was speaking to a whole group of insurance executives, and what he said stuck with me. He said, as a voting bloc, dentists do it to themselves. So basically, lawyers, they go with what the lobbying or the ABA, whatever the big organization is. They say vote for this candidate, and they don't really care what your personal beliefs are. Vote for this candidate because this will preserve your way of life and your job. And he said, dentists don't do that. If you told dentists to vote for this because it will preserve dentistry, they're like, whatever.
Yeah, so, you know what, Teresa, you know what Peter always says? Peter says, you know what a dental firing squad looks like?
Other dentists?
It's a circle. I mean, at the end of the day, you're calling a spade what it is. It's we are our own worst enemy. We don't play well with each other, and it's no wonder why we have a less effective ADA, because like we can't even agree on occlusion. Put 10 dentists at a cocktail bar at the end of the at a symposium, like people can't even agree on what's the right treatment plan. So yeah, I hear you. But listen, my hope is that at least we spurred some conversations.
Yeah.
And that we let people really know at the end of the day, you're not beholden to any board or agent, not board, but any insurance company. You have the freedom to create the practice that you wish.
Right.
But you need to look under the hood, and you need to get really familiar with what you're doing.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I hope everybody wasn't like, oh, Teresa's full of doom and gloom. I think there's a lot of good stuff coming in dentistry. I mean, I'm excited about some of the technology that's coming, not just the chat, but I love the fact that we do what we do. And I just want to make a push that we need to really be out there talking to people about how awesome our industry is, because we need to attract new people. And nobody wakes up, goes to school and says, I want to be a dental assistant. They just don't. They don't. And we need to make that more attractive. So I'm just going to put a challenge out to your listeners to take a look at the high school, take a look at having some campaigns about how cool it is to be in dentistry. I know it sounds kind of nerdy, but we're suffering right now with lack of workforce. We lost a lot of institutional knowledge with all these retirements. So it's tough.
Yeah. No, it's a great profession. It's great for, assistants to rise and be trained. I mean, there's these great stories like Erica starting off in sterilization and winding up being the entire operations for the entire practice. I love the profession. It's small business at its core. It's family run. It's good people. It's noble. We help people. We get paid to help people. So I agree with you. We got to be banging on that drum more. But listen, Teresa, we got to wrap because of time, but that was freaking awesome.
It was awesome.
Really awesome. So let's plug, where can people find you? What's the deal? Like, how do we get in touch with you?
So my website is Odyssey MGMT, because somebody took management all spelled out. So OdysseyMGMT.com. And I have a newsletter that goes out pretty regularly. Some online courses that are getting actually revamped for the first of the year, but it's all about insurance. And 2 podcasts, Nobody Told Me That and Chew on This. And feel free to listen to those in between your episodes, right?
Listen, more information is better.
Yeah. And then I have a book called Moving Your Patients to Yes, Easy Insurance Conversations. You can find that on my website. And just so if it has to do with coding, I'm probably in the middle of it. So come find me at a meeting and, come say hi.
That's awesome, Teresa. Well, thank you for doing what you do for dentistry. We're pretty aligned here. It's good to talk to people that are fighting the same battle. Really appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks, Teresa.